Well, Robert, Mr. Apartment Rockstar, thanks for coming on to the Abundance2Give podcast. I appreciate your time, and I know it's valuable. Unlike some podcasts where we just kind of jump right into, hey, where your success is, give tips and tricks and how you did it and A to Z and all of that, really what we try and do is, dive a few layers deep and really get into kind of how, you're coaching, what you've done, giving back to people, helping the community, philanthropy that you're involved with, how you feel that giving has created like this abundance in your life and then kind of perpetuated on and on. And so I know I think you started in 2007. Is that right? And then
2007.
And was that your first time you bought? Did you start with like small stuff, or did you get into larger apartment complexes? Or did you go from, like Grant Cardon says, go to 400 units immediately? So
for me, I've got the classic story for most of us in real estate. None of us grew up with this. Nobody knew how to do real estate coming out of the womb. This was something that you acquired. My mom and dad were my first mentors, and they told me go to school and get good grades, and that's what I did. Then the professors are telling you, hey, work hard, interview well, group projects, so you can get a good job. So I did that for the next 10 years. And it wasn't until being in corporate America, getting screwed around, having my commissions cut. I'm a sales guy. I've got an engineering degree from Texas A&M, and I wanted to go out and make money. But I wanted to be here, and my employer wanted me to be here. No matter how many times I try to break that ceiling, they would push me back down.
And I was realizing typical W-2, man. Yeah.
It is typical W-2. And so what happened was I was on a sales call, around Houston, and I found a real estate club in Houston, and I would listen to this club all the time. They were on around noon. So if I wasn't in a lunch meeting, I was going somewhere, I would listen to it. Later, they got on podcasts, and I would hear them there. And after enough time, I decided I would go to this club, and I would check it out. I paid $500. Went to the 2-day boot camp. When I left Saturday, I thought, man, I'm going to be the single family king. Like, this is it. I got it. This is what I've been waiting for. Then you go Sunday, and I get introduced to apartments. And I'm like, wow, I'm just going to add a zero to my goals, maybe a couple of zeros. And I wound up writing a $10,000 check next to my down payment on my first home. That was the largest check I'd ever written at that time in 2007. And I did it. And I immersed myself into that world of real estate. One of the first required readings was Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
I read that book on a Christmas drive home from A&M down to McAllen. And I thought it was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. This Rich Dad. I literally took the tape and I threw it out the window. And
really?
To find out, I did.
That was. I was going to get into that whole Robert Kiyosaki thing here because you were touching on it so brilliantly. When you're saying like you were
but then in 07, I'm in this club and they're like, no, you got to read this. I went back and I heard it again. And guess what happened? It made sense. My business maturity had caught up to reality. And I could hear this book and I could listen to it and understand the concepts of what they were teaching. Don't go buy the Ferrari. Go buy the apartment building that pays for the Ferrari.
There you go.
Learn how to be the business owner, and the business investor, not the employee or even just one of the supports on the business. Be the owner, be the investor, not even really the CEO. Just own the business, right? And that made a lot of sense to me. So once I did that, I immersed myself in that club. I was given the introductory, the primer 101 of what it is to own apartment buildings, and I took off. For the first 3 years, I had a partner. He and I bought 10 deals together, around 2,000 units. I was the operator.
Wow.
He was the GP. During that time, it was between 07 and 2011, so we had the recession. So I cut my teeth in the recession.
Beautiful.
Iron sharpens iron, baby. And as people are being put out of business, I put plenty of people out of business because we did 3 100% cash out refinance events during the recession. So no one's lending. They're lending me money because we were able to show that we could do this. So he and I had a parting of ways. And that's when I realized a lesson about partnerships. Partnerships are not forever.
Sure.
In reality, nothing's forever. There's a start and there's an end to a partnership. The reason why a partnership exists is because there's fear. There's fear that I don't have what it takes to do this alone. So I need you, Justin, or I need somebody else because they have whatever. And I see that happen in the apartment world. And that was what happened with me. I didn't have the confidence to do it by myself. My partner
What
had a
was it?
balance
Was
sheet.
it the confidence or the balance sheet or the
My
liquidity
partner had
or
my
right?
partner had experience. He had a balance sheet, but he didn't have a sales background. He didn't have
Gotcha.
my lay of the land. He didn't know how to speak to people. He didn't understand. He was from London, so very
So you
different.
brought that value to that partnership for sure.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then we had a parting of ways because that's what happens in partnerships. They end, and they normally end ugly. Because I would have been there forever. But I'm glad that these lessons occurred so I could understand them. Right? I don't mind. You got before you can earn, you got to learn. You got to get that L. Right? And I'm glad I got that L early. It hurt, and it was an emotional time for me. But it's what gave the birth to Rockstar Capital. And so from 2011 to today, our companies are in 19 city-state National Apartment Association awards.
I saw that. You're like one of the only two-time NNA.
I'm a five-time owner of the year and the country's only two-time National Apartment Owner of the Year. And it's because
Beautiful.
I get in the weeds, man. I get this. And if those events between 2007 and 11 had not occurred, that I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So it's like one of those things where, these dominoes have to fall, and that one had to fall to bring me down the path I was on, because if I stayed on the regular path, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I wouldn't have $675 million of real estate.
That's incredible. How many units are you up to now? Like 4,000 plus?
I have 4,850. And
I love how you know like the exact, it's like 851. I love it. You know the exact amount of units.
850. Because, it's important. This is a business, right? This is not a hobby. This is my full-time gig. I know exactly what I got. I know how much my units are. I know what I paid. I know what the down payment was. I don't put that in somebody else's hands. I take care of that myself. I fundraise with my investor relations guys. But before they existed, 24 months ago, I did it all by myself. On the phone, talking to my investors.
It's similar to the stage I'm in where you're doing a lot of that stuff yourself, too. So I get it.
But you got to scale, though, Justin. You got to be ready. If you're ready to go to the next role, the next part of your life, you got to bring in that kind of help.
Absolutely. So with the giving side, I mean, are there certain philanthropies that you have kind of found yourself gravitating towards? Is it back to Texas A&M with the Aggies? Is there other things that are kind of near and dear to your heart that have kind of brought you closer to things where now you can give back, right? Because now you've had these professional successes in life, and now you can kind of give back to society or even, help out in different ways.
Yeah, I think abundance mentality is a big deal. I think I was very blessed that my parents put that in me, to help others, give others where you can. But before you can help anybody else, you got to help yourself. You got to get to that point. You got to put the effort in. You got to create the foundation of what it takes, right? Because if you're always worrying about somebody else, you're not worrying about you. You've got to become number one. You always hear, pay yourself first and then everybody else later. That's 100% true. You can't help anybody if you don't help yourself first. It's not the other way around. It's not. You got to help yourself first, so you're in a position to help others. So when A&M does call me and they want to do a podcast, I have the time to do that. I'm not busting my ass at my 9 to 5. I have the freedom. I have the flexibility to do that. When there's a breast cancer walk and we want to take our team there, we're going to be able to participate. When there's a hunger drive, we want to do those things. Right. But before you can do that, you got to have success. I think people are always so worried about helping everybody else. I'm like, you're losing valuable time, especially in those 20s. What is this? What are you trying to do here? Where do you want to be 20, 30 years from now? Because it's all that trickle down effect, like that domino's got to fall. And the more of those you stack, the further you're going to be in the game later. So I believe in charity. I believe in all that, but you got to help yourself.
Right. And I always say that, some people look at money differently and how they attach when they see money or what it means to them, good, bad, and different. I look at money and I see choices, right? So when I see $1, I see one choice. I see 100, I see 100 choices. I see the ability to do what you do or you get back, right? Because now you have some time, you have the choices because the wealth is there that you can now provide to others because you did for yourself, right? And give back to others, help coaching others. Is there any, kind of walk me down the steps? Because one of the greatest quotes I heard you talk about was, before you invest in anything, invest in yourself. I think that was one of your main quotes. Is that right?
Yeah, that's 1,000%. I think that in life that you can't jump into something because you're going to make mistakes. And when you make those mistakes, it's gonna stunt you. and you're going to question yourself, and you're going to look in the mirror and say, man, do I have the stones to do this? So it's really important to make sure that first one goes right. When I joined that real estate club, this is why I say that. When I joined that real estate club, I walked in, nobody knows it. I walked in with a partner, with a buddy, a really good friend of mine. And he decided that he didn't want to spend the $10,000. He was there with me when I paid $500 for the 2-day boot camp.
Yep.
And he went on to go buy a single family house. And he literally made every mistake you could possibly make. He didn't put the rent sign out right away. He did it hands-on, where he did the construction himself with his family member. I think it was a brother-in-law. And then what happened, because he's making mistakes, he's trading his time out there.
Yep.
The window of that real estate market switched on him. The winds changed. And it took longer to sell his house. It's not like right now. This is back in 2007. It took longer to sell his house, right before the recession, longer. And he did not make anywhere close to the profit that he was imagining. Do you think he ever did another single family house again?
He's probably burned pretty good, wouldn't he?
He did not. And when he wanted to try it again, his number one fan, his wife, who should have been his wife, said no. She didn't believe it anymore. So whatever brand number he was, he's doing things, but he's not doing real estate like that. He could have, though. He was intellectually my equal. He was intellectually, he had the same skill set. He had an education. He could have done these things. He just didn't do it. He made the business decision to save money versus paying for the education. And that cratered his future business potential. I put money into my education. I paid a mentor to teach me so that he would send me the map on how to get through the jungle so I don't get eaten alive.
Yeah.
I don't make the mistakes. I don't go through the bridge that everybody knows you can't go across. I don't go through the jungle where all the tigers live. Go down this path and you're going to get to see. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for somebody else's mistakes. You're paying for somebody else's life lessons. So if this is true to you, this is serious, why wouldn't you pay for the cheat code of life? Why wouldn't you pay for the shortcut? They say there aren't any shortcuts to success. That's bullshit. There is shortcuts to success. You just got to be willing to pay for it.
Sure.
And I don't mean cheating your way. You're paying somebody's got a business. I've got an educational business. I'm going to show you my lessons on what I've learned over the last 15 years on what to do, what not to do. But if you don't want to pay them, that's okay. I'll see you at the finish line. Maybe.
And with that kind of leading into that, I know you have, I don't know what your relationship is with Grant Cardon. I know you paid a lot to be around him and surrounded by that environment, but I want to jump into that for a minute to see how he's impacted you. Because I was on YouTube one day watching him and his marketing guy up on the screen, and I was trying to understand their formula for how they kind of bring everybody through these nice little funnels that they do. And he says, you guys want to see the formula? And I'm like, yeah. And he pretty much wrote GW, right, plus freebie times frequency equals dollar signs. And I'm like, okay, explain that. And he says goodwill, right? Freely you give, goodwill times, freebie offer times the frequency of it equals the dollar signs. And that's kind of like where I've tweaked my mind, because a lot of times people want to take before they give. And I know that you probably learned a lot of that, because I see all the free information you're giving out online, and that kind of brings people through and attracts them to you to build that trust.
How much do you think he makes a day with that formula?
I don't even know, dude.
I know the exact number.
Yeah. Shoot.
It's around $400,000 a day.
No way.
And he does nothing. No
way.
Like 400 times 365. Yeah, I know, because he told us this weekend. Told the whole group. It's not like he didn't text me. I have his number.
That's disgusting. That's amazingly disgusting.
That is 20 years of his life.
Yeah.
That's what he said. So how do you think he has money to write for big old checks to buy apartment deals? Because he spent his first half of his life doing this. Yeah. And he worked his ass off to do it. Nobody worked harder. Gary Vee's a great guy. I like Gary Vee. And I love that video that they have. I don't know if you've ever seen it on YouTube, where they're going head to head. I think it was on Grant's Power Players. Go look it up. It's awesome. They're going ahead on who works harder. Smarter.
I would love to see that. Because those are two beasts, right? Two beasts going at it.
There's different ways of doing it, But back to my relationship with Grant, I got introduced to Grant maybe into, somebody showed me his first book, maybe 2016-ish. And I went to go see Gary Vee in 2017. And when I came back, I hired my first videographer in the summer of 2017. He was a high school kid out of a local school here who now is graduating from UT Austin, because this is now, 4 or 5 years ago. And then the next year in 2018, I went to go see Grant, and I paid $5K, and I got to sit with him for basically an hour. And I took my children with me, and of course I brought my videographer that I hired, and we recorded the whole thing. At that time, listen to this, Justin, he was at $600 million in assets under value.
Okay.
I was at 270, 280.
Okay.
He got up out of his chair the moment he learned what I had, and he slapped me on the hand, and he said, "My man, my brother." I remember it clearly. And I sat there, and he gave me some advice and what have you. Well, fast forward to 2021, I'm really getting into the Grant Cardon world. And I'm going to all the events. And I'm understanding what he's doing, because the best thing ever happened to me was Grant decide to say that he's publicly doing real estate. Right? And so I was like, wow, this is amazing. He's in my world now. I'm not in sales and motivation. I'm not doing car sales. I'm not doing all these other business development. I'm doing multifamily. And for him to say publicly, I'm in this, like, great. I want to learn from this guy. I'm really impressed by him. So, I was there in 2018 with him. And then I remember one day it was like, it just woke up. I just woke up, and I was like, man, Grant's at this time now, he's at like 3 or 4 billion.
Wow.
And I'm at like 400 million. I was like, why aren't I further? I was at 280. Now I'm at 400. This is January of last year.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, January of last year, I'm at 400 million. We have bought and sold, but I'm at 400 million of assets under value. And Grant's there around 4 billion. He's now around 5. But I made that call. I said, I've been treating my business like a hobby and not like a business. And Grant has been treating it like a business. Everything he does is, how do I buy more apartment deals? So I decided, okay, I'm going to get in this. When I went to so everywhere I go, I pay attention to the guy. I sit front row. He sees me. I'm watching. I'm supporting. I've invested in Cardon Capital. Got about $500,000 in various deals in Cardon Capital, which he appreciated. He publicly said, man, this guy at one of the big events, this guy doesn't have to invest in me. He does it all by himself. That means the world to me. Robert, why do you do it? Because I want to give back. I want to learn. I want to understand. So when they started the real estate club, I almost told my story. When they started the real estate club last year, they approached me first and said, hey, if Grant would do a real estate club, would you join? I go, where do I sign? I am credited with being member number 001 in that club.
No shit.
And here's my methodology. Oh, yeah. So you wanted my relationship there. I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's
my
good.
methodology was, wait, a billionaire is going to start a real estate club. That's all you need to know.
Fair enough.
Because connected dots, you're going to hear him say things. You're going to hear his methodology, his mindset. Are you telling me that I can't trickle off? I can't hang around the rim and understand what he's saying and get it and apply it? So I did it. Then I doubled down. I'd never done his one-on-one coaching. And it jumped dramatically in pricing. I remember I paid for the 1 hour call, which was my kids, but that was 4 years earlier. It was only $5,000. I paid $100,000 for 4 1 hour calls.
Wow.
Each of those 3 calls has paid dividends. The most recent call, I brought a $70 million deal, the biggest deal of my life. And I said, okay, actually fast forward. Since joining the club, I've gone from 400 million to 675.
Wow. Okay.
He shows you how to get started. He shows you how to raise equity, and he shows you how to think bigger. I wasn't valuing myself. I wasn't pushing myself to the next level that I can be. Because one day I'm going to go to heaven. I hope. I'm going to go to heaven.
You're going there, man.
And I'm going to meet the man that I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see how close I got to that guy. So being in that club, I've learned that, right? Here's how I did it, though. I decided to put my money where my mouth is, because that club's only $25,000. That's nothing. I put $100,000 on 4 calls. Each of those 3 that I've had so far has paid for themselves. The most recent one was a $70 million deal that I was chasing. And I said, man, I got this deal. And I gave him the background. He goes, okay, good. You're not going to get it. I'm like, what do you mean? Because it's not about the price. There's other guys that have traded with him. You got to show that you're serious. All right. What do you say? He goes, he looks down. How gangster are you? And I looked at him. I was like, hit me.
I love it. How gangster are you? That sounds exactly like Grant Cardone.
All right. He goes, go through your pitch and then say that you have wired the money, the earnest money, hard to any title company of your choice and show it to him on the screen. Because they don't know you.
Sure.
They need certainty. They know the other guys. They've traded with him twice already. So tell me your story about why you're the local guy. And I did. So that's what I did. I went there and I went through the guys. They go, guys, I explained to them why I'm going to do this. I go, here's the thing. And then here's my pitch to the guys. Final pitch. All right, guys. So obviously I'm the best guy for the best deal for this. And let me tell you why. I'm the local guy. I can pay you more than anybody else because this is my market. I don't have to make my money today. I'll make my money over the next 10 years. But I'm here to help you become a hero. I'm here to make you look good in front of your investors and your board of directors. So I know you have concerns with me. I'm serious. I want to be there. I have deals in that area. I shared screen. The notes came up, which was the title. The title had received my earnest money receipt. I go, is that your name? Did I get it right? That's sitting for you. That's sitting for you at Riverway Title. So do we have a deal? And they just looked at me and they said nothing.
their mouth probably went.
Right? They nearly did for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I go, do we have a deal? Yeah, we'll get right back to you.
I love it.
The fourth of the 4 buyer calls.
Were you in the best in the second round of best and final, or?
It was the last round. This is the best and final. This is the buyer interview. There's 3 other guys that I chose 4 o'clock. I get a call 15 minutes later from the broker. He says, man, I haven't seen gangster shit like that since the recession.
I love it, dude.
So my point to that is,
so
if
funny.
I didn't have that call with Grant Cardone, I would not have learned that strategy. I would not have been able to generate the fees that I generated from that deal, the opportunity for my investors, the opportunity to push myself to see if I can raise $25 million. I ended the last 12 months raising $73 million, which is more than double of what I did the previous 12 months because I was in that club. I pushed myself. I bought $239 million of assets that I did not have with NOI and everything. We're at 675. That would not have happened had I not joined that club, had I not been there with Grant. And what do you think he does now? He knows that. I'm a walking billboard for him of the success story.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm in his circle. He says my name once or twice during the events.
So funny. So did he ever has he ever shared the story? Because obviously I'm based here in San Diego, and then obviously in Austin, about how he got started in San Diego. Has he ever shared that? 'Cause that's where he's.
Yeah. He had an apartment deal there. He's got his house in Malibu. As you know, he's back in Malibu now. I mean, it's like the triumphant return of the king. I know why
right?
he's there. I know because every time I go, I'm sorry. Every time I go home and I visit my family down in South Texas, I feel like so big. I drive home. I'm looking around. I'm like, yeah, Daddy's home, right? And I know that's how he feels in California. I know that's how he feels.
And it's funny because he. Obviously, he started in Houston doing some single family rental, blah, blah, blah. And then he actually was living on Camino de la Costa in La Jolla. And I got the story from him because I was on one of his little coaching courses one time. It was right I want to say it was 2008-ish, right in the financial crisis stuff. He walked across the street. There was a house right on the waterfront near Windansea Beach. Anna Marie Bernard was the broker at that time that was representing that property. It was technically off market. He jokes about it because he's like, yeah, I was dating her for a little bit. And then he ended up getting the house. He bought it for $3 million, $4 million bucks, flipped it for $8 or $9 million right there on the coast. And that gave him a big chunk, right, of change at that point in time. Then he ended up buying 2 apartment complexes in San Diego. One was a 27 unit in North Park. The other one was a 48 unit in Vista. And his broker at the time was Rudy Medina, who ends up being my co-GP now that we're partnered with, because he told me the story. I was like, no shit, this is crazy. And that's how Grant Cardone, his first 2 deals, multifamily, were in San Diego. And then, of course, like you said, Malibu and all the other stuff. And now, of course, Grant Cardone. But it's crazy how it did its full circle that way. And then now he's back. So I thought that was hilarious.
There was a little somewhere in there. He went to Arizona, bought a deal in the Arizona area, had a partner, gave him a piece of the deal, no equity in the deal, gave him a piece of the deal for running the deals. And then there was, again, partnerships end.
Sure.
He had to cut his buddy, and he reached out to his buddy, or his buddy reached out to him one day. He's like, man, you really like went on to be something. He's like, man, I never would have left you. If you had never cut me, I never would have left you.
No way.
So,
well, they always say things happen for a reason, right? I mean, things always happen for a reason. One door closes, another one can open.
Here's what I know about DC. He's really connected. Like, he's really taken his business knowledge and he's made the right connections. He knows things are going to happen. That's why I try to hang around the rim as much as I can, because I'm sitting there. He can't help but share what he's learned on those weekly calls. He can't. They're good. It's good data. And for everybody getting started, it's a chance for them to learn how to underwrite like Grant Cardon. For a guy like me that's seasoned, I'm hearing his methodology, his mindset, why he buys it. Did you know he hasn't bought a deal all year long?
Which doesn't surprise me per se. But didn't he close on? Maybe he got into escrow on it late last year, like a big deal, like a $700 million multi.
It closed January, but they originated last year. He hasn't originated anything this year because he knew what was occurring. That was one of our calls. Was like, dude, slow down, be careful, watch out. The great deals are going to be in Q4, Q1. Rates are popping. But you know what? It was funny. He went through deal depression. I saw him, and he was just like, I've never seen him look like that.
Yeah, and we've only done one deal this year, so that would make sense. I mean,
and I said, man, it looks like somebody ran over your dog. What's going on? He's like, are you? He goes. He said, I think he said to me, deal depression is real. And I was like, how many deals do you have in contract? He's like, he goes, the world's frozen. I think I'm just going to go to France or to Italy with Elena because nothing's going to happen around here.
My gosh. That's amazing. What? Let's get into the advice side, because are there any philanthropies that you really focus on right now in the Houston area or around your home?
You know what? I want to get back. I'm glad you gave me a chance to go back and answer that, right? We all want to help so many people in the world. And we talk about helping ourselves. I said that I was talking about yourself, but you know what else I want to help? I want to help those around me, the ones on my team. Last year, I gave a chance for everybody that was in my team at the time to put money into a deal, right? We didn't go out. It wasn't a 506c raise. I kept it internally. I gave them first rights. My team put in about $137,000 to buy deals. I matched all of them $5,000 each. Anybody who was in that deal, I said, if you will put $5,000, I'll match you $5,000. That's on a deal I have called Churchill Square. And I want to give to them what real estate has done for me.
Sure.
And it's a charity little deal down in Corpus Christi. And so I'm all about helping my team first. I want to make sure that I help the people that are there helping me. I want to help these causes. I do. But I need to help the people that I can help first, that are within my arm's length, that I can have a direct track. I don't want to write a check to MDA and hope that the money's going to go to where it needs to go. I don't want to hear about what their administrative costs are and their board of director costs, and only 26 cents every dollar makes it. Every dollar, every energy of me that I put into my team, they're going to get back. They're going to feel it. They're going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's direct. I mean, like I said, there's always different ways. I mean, everybody knows the traditional ones, right? You can give to a charity, give to a foundation. You can start your own. I mean, it's funny because I had Terrence Murphy on about a week ago. He's former Green Bay Packer wide receiver. Went to Texas A&M.
I just went to A&M. Yeah, we're friends.
Yeah, so he's a friend of mine, and I was just out in Dallas at a conference and ran into him again. But love his story, right? And the Aggies and what he's doing, and what you're doing, and all of that. So it fits right into this whole concept. It doesn't matter how you give; it's just a matter of giving back. It's free information, free time, your team, people you're giving with, because that abundance mindset. If you give, it's funny, like it's freely you give, freely you receive. It just finds its way into this universe, and it ends up, you don't even ask for it, but it gives back 10 times. Right?
It's just the way the world works, man. I mean, it's why it's in the Bible about tithing and what have you. They should have just taken another step. It's not just monetarily. It's like you said, it's your time. It's your investment. It's what you're doing for somebody else. That conversation, that Grant could have charged whatever. He charged $5,000. That conversation paid off so much for me. Look at it now. How many members have I referred to his club? How many chances he had? Like when
you may have just referred another one right here.
Well, I probably did. And what I was going to say is that whenever I'm at these growth con events or whatever, his sales team will bring me in. and they're like, hey, I want you to meet Joe Smith, Joe and Nancy Smith. Robert, tell me your experience in the club. Like, that's my way of giving back to him, that paying homage to how he helped me. Because even now, I mean, everything he's doing, I'm watching. There's no reason why I can't get to the level he's at. You know,
Sure.
I recently, here's a big announcement for you. The very first call he had with me was get out of property management. And that was really hard for me to swallow because, you know, I'm like, I've done this. I became a 2-time national independent owner of the year. I've won all of my credentials off of my management team. But at the same time, I've worn myself down and I slowed myself down. You know, I was there in Arizona right now and I'm like, wow, this is a really great market. How do I buy here? If I'm still under my previous structure, there's no way. Who am I going to send there? How am I going to manage it? I don't have the processes set up. It's a big reason why my 5,000 units are in Texas, because I haven't been able to go and expand to Florida or to the Carolinas. Not that I haven't.
That's amazing that in one market you have that many units. That's incredible. Because normally if you see that, like my buddy George Abreu with Elevate, I mean, he's around 4,000 plus units and some partnerships, but they're all over the place, right? They have mostly Texas.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. Well, because he doesn't have management.
Right.
That's why. I had management, so my management kept me in these areas, but it also kept me disciplined, right? I know my market. I know what my expenses are. You got to be very careful when you invest in other markets that you don't know. But I'm partnering now with, you know, again, this was the first call. I'm partnering now with the company that Grant uses for his property management, a group out of Austin, Texas called RPM. And I had the interview. I talked to them. I'm like, great. Now I can open myself up. But I needed to run those 4,800 units myself because no one's going to bullshit me on what it takes to be successful.
That's right.
These other guys, these other syndicators, and no offense to anybody, I went a different path. The real estate club that I paid for told me you will quit your day job before you accept $100,000 from anybody, and you will run this property management company to oversee the investments you raised. So I walked away from $150,000 to sit into the chair day to day, making about $32,000 so I could learn the business. And that is the best thing that club ever taught me, was to throw myself into the deep end, take it serious. Again, that was taking it not like a hobby. That's taking it like a serious, because George's main flow is his construction company. It is not the real estate stuff.
Correct.
He's planting seeds.
That's right, JNT.
He's planting seeds for his equity investment, and however he's doing that, he'll realize one day that he needs to quit the construction side and focus full time on the real estate, because it's the real estate that's going to pay for everything.
Sure.
I see it here right now with 4,800 units where I'm the solo GP. You know, George has been there, co-GPs with a lot. I don't know what he really owns. You know, who knows? It's great to say you're part of however many units, right? I'm the solo GP. I've never had a partner other than my limited partners. Right. And so with that.
So how did you do that initially? Because to obviously do that, it's balance sheet, liquidity, all that stuff to kind of step up to that, to sign on the loans and all of that, especially when you're going to the bigger assets. So you had to have some liquidity events or something to allow that balance sheet to be there, to be the solo GP. Because you wouldn't start as solo GP. You got there. Is that how I understand? Yeah. So when I started my real estate career, in 2007, I had an $800,000 net worth. Today, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's between 50 and 100 million. Okay. And when in those first 3 deals, those first 10 deals with that partner, I didn't get a piece of the GP cut. I was a passive partner. I was just the operating arm. I got a cut of the management fee. Big fucking deal. That's nothing. There's no money in management. My money has come from longevity and patience. And hard work. My first deal was $2.9 million. I raised $1.5 million. First year one. Year two, nothing happens. I guarded with my life. That's why I told all my investors, if you put a deal money next to me, that's my kids' money, that's my mama's money, that's all my friends and family's money, I'm going to guard it with my life, especially if it's a recourse deal. Year one, $2.9 million, $1.5 million of equity. Year two, $1.9 million deal. $1.1 million of equity. Year three, 3 something million dollar deal, 900,000 of equity. Year four, I think it was 5 something million, and we raised like 3.5 million of equity. It wasn't until year 5 of my 15-year real estate career. No, it's not true.
year 5 of Rockstar. Rockstar was in 2011. So it wasn't until 2015-ish or so that I bought multiple deals. And they were still small.
And that was
But when I bought
Rockstar.
those,
That was 2011, right?
Rockstar in 2011, right? But those $2.9 million deals post recession, those deals refinanced 100% twice. Each of those first 4 years. I've got one investor who put $100,000 with me, and today he owns 17 deals worth $1.7 million off his $100,000 investment.
Wow. He's got to be skipping. That's incredible. It's incredible.
You know, so my point is, I created my liquidity through hard work, through refinance events. To where now the last deal was $70 million. It was a $50 million loan. As you know, you got to have balance sheet to do a $50 million loan.
Yep.
I had to put in X% of the equity. It was quite a lot. It was just under $1 million that I had to put in on the last 2 deals. That'll wipe your equity up real quick.
Will you typically do a 95-5 on your splits on the equity in, or are you doing a little bit more than that as a sole GP?
Yeah, I do an 80-20 split, no prefs.
No, I mean in terms of the actual equity. Like if you had a million,
yes.
95-5.
The bank needs you to put in somewhere between 3 to 5% for sure.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah,
5% for most people. If you have a lot of experience, you can get it down to about 3%. But again, it was quite a bit. That's why I put $800,000 of the $25 million. It was a lot of money. I've done that each of the 2 times. That I put in that one deal what my net worth was back in 2007. You know, and that just hit home for me, right? So that's where it came from, right? It's like, you know, there's a lot of ways to cheat code this. You know, I like the way that I did because I learned that nobody can bullshit me. Nobody can ever tell me what it takes to run that deal because I know exactly what it takes. So I already told RPM, I go, guys, get ready. I'm not your typical guy. I'm going to watch my numbers.
Yeah, you're not your passive syndicator operator. You're going to be highly involved.
No. I know what I want. I know what it's looking for. I'm doing this so I don't have to worry about people putting in their 2 weeks notice. I know that I don't have to worry about people not showing up to work. Like, because we haven't touched this. Right now, the great resignation is real. Go to any restaurant, any place that you've ever been to, the service quality is way down. You got guys that are all tatted up, little tears off of their eyes. Like, they're serving you your food. They're like, oh my goodness, right?
I mean, the labor force challenge is legit. I mean, I'm trying to get guys on one of our 121 unit deals in Texas to just show up, some of them. It's crazy.
And those problems, see, Grant, let me show you a quick story. Grant said, hey, man, so how was COVID? I talked to him about it. He goes, you know, that year I bought $700 million. I bought a $45 million deal, but it wasn't until December. Then he asked me about the ice storm. Hey, how was that ice storm that you had? And I was telling him, and he kept doing this. Tell me more. And I was giving him all the details, passionate about what I was doing, what have you. This is the beginning of 2021. This is when the light bulb kicked off. The light bulb kicked on for me. You know what I did? No, what did you do? Room full of 300 people. While Robert was out there monkey dicking with snowstorm, ice storm, broken pipes, bad vendor relations, you know, supplies, pissed off residents, I didn't hear about any of that. I went out and bought a $150 million deal. They call me. They try to tell me about it. He goes, why do I care? That's your problem. I'm focused over here. Now, that sounds very ugly, but what are you here for? Is this a hobby or is this a business? He has a goal. He's singularly minded. When we were in Arizona this weekend, he not only did he get up to go to the gym every morning, he had a 7:30 property tour on the last day. When the event was over, he looked at 3 deals after the event was over, shopping around for deals. You cannot, that is like serious one-track mind. He's got like blinders on, and he doesn't want to hear about people issues. Look, real estate's easy. People are difficult. Yeah. I've learned that the hard way. And I've had such a soft heart for that stuff. I've had such a soft heart for that stuff, always wanting to help everybody. But that stuff has kept me from my wins, from my dreams, from future feathers in my cap, from generational wealth for my family, for my investors, for acknowledgement and ego for myself. You know, when I watch Grant, how did he go from 600 million to get to 5 billion right now? He's going to buy $1 billion at the end of the year. He'll be at 6 billion. I have no doubt. How did he go there? It's because I was treating my business like a hobby. He was treating it like a business. And when that light bulb went off, that's how I went from 400 million to 675. The next continuation was, because I had that first phone call in October of 2021 about going to management. It wasn't until a month ago when I finally said, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm done because the great resignation is so hard that I don't want to deal with it anymore. I want to go with a company that's got 120,000 units. They want 5,000 units of management because they got the infrastructure. They got a 15-person marketing team. They got a 15-person HR, a 15-person training department that'll take these guys that are out of the industry that can properly train them. 15-person team that can possibly recruit. You're out there looking at Indeed, taking time away from asset managing your deals, property managing your deals. They got 15 people that are chasing open positions. And that's when my light bulb went off. I was like, dude, I'm done with this. I've learned it. I know exactly what I want. My money now is spent on my asset management team. I got a 4-man asset management team for my 5,000 units because I don't want anything to slip. I've got 2 investor relation guys because I need help raising the equity. I need hands-on talking to people. And I've got a 3-man, 2-man, video marketing, social media thing to get my message out. That's a whole lot better than a 132 person property management company where I got to deal with somebody making the wrong decision. I got to deal with somebody not showing up to work. I got to deal with an executive team that doesn't agree with what I want or telling me no when I know it's a yes.
Yeah.
I don't want to fuck with that. I want to do what I know will make the money.
Beautiful. That's amazing you made that change like that. I know we only have a couple minutes left before you got to get off. So since we're the Abundance2Give podcast, just for some fun, we're going to run 5 trivia questions about Texas. If you get 3 of those 5 right, we're going to give, let's call it $500 to any charity philanthropy you want, or your team, whatever it is.
It's Whataburger.
Or you know what? We will invest in Rockstar Capital. I don't know. Whatever you want. Fair enough. All right. So
charity, I like it.
All right. Since you're a Texas man,
let's go. Let's go.
Aggie based, but what's the most populous city in Texas?
It's going to be Houston.
There you go. That was easy. That was first. Number 1. I mean, you live in Houston, right?
You know what the second one is?
Is it San Antonio?
It is San Antonio. Good job. You invest in San Antonio. You're out there in that area. I'm glad you know that.
And I know it's crazy. The market there has been unbelievable, and we saw that, which is why we got in there. Okay, Texas has the largest state fair in the United States. How many people attend this event? I'm going to give you 3 choices. 1 million, 2.3 million, or 3.5 million. Largest in the United States.
Give me the choice. 1 million and what? 1, 2, and 3?
2.5 or 3.5?
I'm going to say 2.5. Was it 1 million?
No, 3.5 million. Yeah, largest in the country. All right. Which popular soda was invented in Waco, Texas? A.
Dr. Pepper.
Sprite. Oh.
Dr. Pepper.
I didn't even have to give you multiple choice.
I don't need a lifeline. It's Dr. Pepper.
I love it.
And I've never been to the fair, which is probably why I didn't know that answer.
Right.
And it's too far away.
That's huge. I mean, it's a huge state fair. Oh my gosh. On average, how many tornadoes hit Texas every year?
That's not common knowledge.
No, it's not. But I'm going to give you 3 choices, 3 good guesses. A, 50. B, 139. Hint. Or C, 180.
I was going to say B.
Yeah, see, I'll give you a specific. I made it easy for you. It is 139.
You were going to give me the big number again. You were going to give me the big number.
That's crazy. 139 tornadoes.
Yeah, but they're in Dallas. I don't live in Dallas either.
Yeah.
I probably know that. Keep going. You got one more.
Yeah, we got one more. What is the state dish of Texas? A, brisket. B, chili. Or C, hamburgers.
Not C. I'm gonna play the whole lifeline. It's not C. If it was, the answer would have been Whataburger. It's not C, and I don't think it's gonna be B. I think it's gonna be I think it's
No,
going to
it's
be
B.
A. It is. It's chili.
B. It's chili. I'm going to give that to you because I could see you going there. Plus, I want to give you guys $500 anyway, so you win.
Okay.
Just
Thank
like
you.
that.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. Well, I know you got to get going. I really appreciate you coming on, by the way.
I want to give it to Grant Cardon's Global Foundation.
Oh.
It teaches children financial literacy, and how to get involved. So he does a lot of big events there at his home office, and I think that's a wonderful cause. I gave 50,000 of it to last summer when I went to a mastermind. All of the proceeds went to that foundation. So I would love to do that.
Beautiful.
About that.
We will. I just marked that down. I will call him personally. No, just kidding. How do we get it? Can we get it to you and then you do that, or how do you want to do that?
I'll send you a link to the foundation.
Okay, that'd be amazing. I appreciate that. And then, I'm really interested in this real estate club thing. I'll have to maybe reach out to you privately on that. That sounds amazing. Well worth it. Just to get in the room with that environment. So. Once again, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for you and your team, and we'll get this put together and look forward to meeting you in person sometime. So,
all right.
Again, take care.
Man.
You bet. Thanks a lot.